Imagine a concert that was supposed to become a historic night instead, beginning with an extreme weather warning in Baltimore, as thousands of BTS fans had already arrived since early morning and begun filling the area around the stadium with an excitement that was impossible to contain. The atmosphere suddenly changed. ARMY's phones began buzzing almost simultaneously. It wasn't an ordinary notification, but a tornado warning that instantly caused many people to fall silent and wonder about one thing: would BTS's historic Baltimore concert actually happen? The sky, which had already been growing darker, seemed to signal that the day would not go according to plan. The wind began to pick up, rain started falling, and increasingly serious weather warnings created an atmosphere of tension. Yet, in the middle of all that uncertainty, something much stronger began to emerge. ARMYs chose not to leave. They stayed, waited, and held on to their excitement for a moment that had never happened before. From the early hours of the morning, lines of fans had already stretched around the concert venue. They came with one goal: to be part of BTS's first ever performance in Baltimore. Some had even prepared various supplies and detailed plans to enjoy the day. But when the tornado warning appeared on their phone screens, the excitement that had filled the air quickly turned into anxiety. Some fans shared live updates about the weather, showing the increasingly dark skies, strengthening winds, and rain that was expected to continue into the afternoon. Even access to the field area was temporarily affected by the weather conditions. Concerns grew even further when the highly anticipated soundcheck for VIP ticket holders was ultimately cancelled. For some fans, that was certainly a major disappointment. But strangely enough, that moment seemed to create an entirely new energy. They realized that the day might not go perfectly, but they still wanted to be there when BTS finally stepped onto the stage. As the weather deteriorated, Baltimore seemed to be under an unfriendly sky. Yet amid the threat of rain and powerful winds, the color purple became increasingly visible. ARMYs continued arriving and gathering at different locations throughout the city. Local media also began taking notice of the phenomenon. WJZ reported on how Baltimore was turning purple ahead of BTS's arrival. At Federal Hill, Cross Street Market, and various other areas, fans began gathering. For Baltimore residents, the color purple is already very familiar because of its connection to the city's sports teams. But this time, there was another reason why the color was so dominant. BTS and BTS ARMY were giving purple a new meaning in the city while creating an atmosphere unlike anything Baltimore had experienced before. What made BTS's arrival even more special was the fact that this was the group's first ever performance in Baltimore. Because of that, various groups throughout the city had prepared a special welcome for fans traveling from different places. Deja McLean and Lacavia Norris even created a movement called Welcome to Baltimore, and partnered with several local businesses to make ARMY feel welcomed. They organized various activities and created a special passport that allowed fans to explore local destinations while visiting Baltimore. Businesses such as Stoop Coffee Shop and Ripped Canvas also became part of the celebration. Long lines of fans could be seen at various locations, while Cross Street Market became one of the main gathering points for ARMY before the concert. Behind all of this was a story about how a concert could bring together a community of people who might never have met otherwise. One fan, Jasmine Hunter, traveled to Baltimore after previously attending a BTS concert in Tampa. Although she now lives in Fort Myers, she had once lived in Baltimore, making the opportunity to see BTS take over a city that had once been part of her life feel especially meaningful. Meanwhile, local business owners were also excited to welcome the influx of fans. Megan Batista of Pigtown Main Street expressed her gratitude for seeing ARMY arrive and support businesses throughout the surrounding neighborhood. For the local community, this was more than just a concert. It was an opportunity to watch a global community come to Baltimore, interact with local residents, support small businesses, and bring an incredible amount of energy to different corners of the city. But when concert day finally arrived, the weather once again tested their determination. A tornado warning appeared just as fans were waiting. The winds grew stronger and rain began to fall. Many people became concerned because the conditions had the potential to disrupt the schedule they've been waiting so long to experience. Some fans even admitted that they were afraid they would miss the soundcheck. But instead of making them give up, the situation only made their determination even more visible. They stayed while continuing to monitor the weather. Every update became something they anxiously waited for. Would the rain stop? Would the field be opened? Would the concert go ahead? At that moment, no one truly knew the answers. And then the moment they had been waiting for finally arrived. Despite the weather that had caused so much anxiety earlier, ARMY managed to fill the stadium. The atmosphere that had once been filled with concern slowly transformed into an explosion of excitement. As soon as the music began, the fans' voices immediately echoed throughout the venue. The cheers were so loud that BTS's voices seemed to disappear beneath a sea of screams from the crowd. Tens of thousands of people who had traveled from different places came together in one space, singing BTS songs side by side. All the anxiety from the previous hours seemed to disappear the moment the stage came alive. What made the night even more emotional was the fact that the fans had not simply come to watch a concert. They came after enduring long journeys, lines, rain, wind, and extreme weather warnings. They came because they wanted to be part of history, BTS's first ever performance in Baltimore. And BTS appeared to respond to that energy by delivering a performance filled with power and passion. Every song, every movement, and every interaction with the audience felt like an answer to the armies who had remained there since morning, despite everything they had faced. Then came one of the most breathtaking moments of the night when Unwavering was performed and tens of thousands of voices came together in one massive sing-along. Imagine that scene. Fans from different countries gathered inside a stadium in the United States singing a song that carries Korea's cultural identity together in Korean. In the middle of a night that had begun with a tornado warning and unpredictable weather, the stadium was transformed into a place where the voices of the fans echoed far louder than the fear they had experienced just hours earlier. For many people, that moment was more than just another part of the concert. It was a powerful reminder of how music can carry culture and emotion across borders. Even armies who were not inside the stadium could feel the energy through reports and recordings coming from the venue. The reactions showed just how powerful the atmosphere was that night. Some said the sound of the crowd felt much louder than usual. Others hoped that every fan would remain safe until the concert ended. And amid all those comments, one impression continued to stand out: the atmosphere in Baltimore that night was extraordinary. It was almost as if the bad weather that had initially threatened the event had made the fans' journey feel even more meaningful. In the end, BTS's first concert in Baltimore became much more than a music performance. The day began with long lines of fans. It turned into anxiety when the tornado warning appeared. It was marked by the cancellation of the soundcheck, and eventually it ended with a stadium filled with the cheers and voices of ARMY. Baltimore did not simply welcome BTS. It became a witness to how a community can remain united when circumstances do not go according to plan. And perhaps that is what made the night so special. A historic concert does not always have to happen under perfect conditions. Sometimes the strongest memories are created when everything feels uncertain. When the sky turns dark, when the rain falls, when the wind grows stronger, and when a tornado warning appears on a phone screen, ARMY still chose to stay.